Oh man. Yo. What's up? This is your man Thatch the Great checking in once again. Let's get straight to it, man. Damn, I don't even want to have this show tonight. But this old clown ass nigga has actually gone ahead and gotten himself fired. That's right, I'm talking about Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe, man, I can't believe I don't even want to do this show, bro. I don't even want to talk about this. I can't believe this is real. But today we got the conclusion to a cautionary tale for all of you young men out there, or even some of you old heads out there. Let what's going on with Shannon Sharpe be a cautionary tale about how you cannot allow lust to direct your path and to direct your actions. I can't believe this shit, bro. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, as of today, Shannon Sharpe has officially been fired from ESPN. Now that his entire lawsuit has been concluded, he's settled. I remember back when that case was initially wrapped up a couple weeks back, I didn't think that he had really settled. I thought that perhaps they didn't have enough evidence, so they relented. But later, a couple days later, we came to find out that Shannon Sharpe did in fact settle, and that is what allowed that particular litigation to wrap up. So he settled, and generally speaking, whenever a man settles, that usually means that you do, at least to some extent, admit fault. That doesn't look good from an optic standpoint, especially to a company like ESPN. So I'm sure that has something to do with why they made the decision that they made today. And I don't know. Let me go ahead and look at the press release here. Let's take a quick look here. This is some shit, man. Shannon Sharpe out at ESPN after settlement in $50 million rape lawsuit. Unbelievable. Check this out. The on-air relationship between ESPN and Shannon Sharpe appears to be over less than 2 weeks after the Pro Football Hall of Fame tight end and media commentator settled a $50 million lawsuit related to sexual assault and battery accusations by an ex-girlfriend. Well, that's very light. They're calling her an ex-girlfriend, but we all know she was just the OnlyFans slut that he was paying to smash. So he settled that lawsuit, as we all know, a couple weeks back. And I guess in his mind, he thought that by settling and making the lawsuit go away, that he would be fine to come back into the fold at ESPN once football season returns, which is coming up very shortly. Lo and behold, we get this news today that ESPN has completely cut bait from Shannon Sharpe. They fired his ass. And I cannot say enough that you young men out there, even some of you old men, you got to use this as a cautionary tale. You can't let lust fuck up your bag. This old goopy nigga has allowed this young OnlyFans thought to get him out the fucking paint. He was well in line to get $100 million deal, guys, just weeks before this came into the fray, as far as that lawsuit coming into play. And now everything is up for grabs now. Shannon Sharpe got fired by ESPN today. So now the only thing that he really has is his personal Club Shay Shay brand, which was very strong last year. But now with his reputation taking such a hit, who knows where that's going to go now. He still has, Nightcap with Chad Ochocinco. And while that is a fairly popular podcast, how much... I'm sure that nobody can discount just how much money he's losing by being fired by ESPN. Everybody looks at ESPN as the big dog. That's the big bag. That's the big bag. They were clearing out space. In case you guys are not aware, they were clearing out space for Shannon Sharpe. They were firing people to make space for him to be in that evening time slot with his own show, being able to bring his. I believe the plan was for him to kind of be able to get either Nightcap over there on ESPN or either Club Shay Shay, something that was in the works. They said it was a huge deal that was on the works. He was well in line to possibly get somewhere in the neighborhood of upwards of $80 to $100 million deal for his podcast to help to bring them over to ESPN. And then, as you guys know, that lawsuit came and like a wildfire. You know, the rest is history, as they say. But let me read the rest of this press release, just in case you're not up to date with Shannon Sharpe being completely kicked out the door by ESPN today. This old fool has actually gotten himself fired, all because he couldn't control his lust. And I just can't believe this shit. All right. The network has decided to cut ties with Sharpe, according to the report from The Athletic on Wednesday, July 30th. Sharpe last appeared on ESPN in April, stepping away after the lawsuit was initially filed. Y'all remember that? Right after that lawsuit was filed, he said he was going to take some time away from ESPN. When in actuality, we all know that they probably told him in not so kind words that, look, nigga, we don't want any of this shitstorm to be connected to us. So you're going to have to go take your ass somewhere else. We don't want to have to fire you, but you go handle this. If this isn't true, go handle it, go take care of it, and then come back to us. But it's my opinion and it's my belief that when he settled a couple weeks back, when he settled with that girl a couple weeks back, generally speaking, whenever you're settling with a double-digit $1 million figure as far as what you're settling with some talentless OnlyFans slut, that generally means that most likely you do have some fault in this particular matter. So I think that's the way that ESPN viewed it as well. I don't know what you guys think, but I think that's the way ESPN viewed it as well. You settled, you're paying more than $10 million. Most people estimate that it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15 to 20 million as far as what that OF slut got from him. So if you're willing to pay that much to settle, most likely, while everything she said about you may not be true, it's a very high possibility that most likely some of what she stated you did unconsensually was true. That's what I'm sure that's the logic that ESPN is operating off of with this move that they made today. They said, listen, Shannon, if you were innocent, you would not have settled. You wouldn't settle. You would have taken it to the full term. You would have done everything necessary to clear your name, but you settled. You paid this talentless OnlyFans thought upwards of 15 to 20 million to settle, which means you are guilty, at least to an extent. And ESPN can't have that on their books. They already got enough dissension over there. They already got enough going on behind the scenes at ESPN. The last thing they need is another shitstorm. So that's why they fired his ass today. But this is just crazy, man. This is just crazy. Let's see. Sharpe said at the time when all right. He publicly denied the allegations, calling it a shakedown. Give me 1 second. Let me pull this back on the screen. He publicly denied the allegations, calling it a shakedown, and maintained his relationship with the accuser was 100% consensual. He said at that time that he planned to return to ESPN's airwaves when the NFL training camps resumed or began back, ahead of the 2025 season. The settlement in Sharpe's case came to light on July 18th when Tony Busby, the attorney for the woman identified as Jane Doe. Why are they saying identified as Jane Doe? We all know her name. It's Gabriella Zuniga. Why are they saying Jane Doe? I don't know. Anyway, it says identified as Jane Doe announced the sides had reached a resolution and the lawsuit would be dismissed. No details of the agreement were actually released. Okay, so that much we already know, right? We already knew all of that. All right, the woman accused Sharpe of sexually assaulting her twice in October 24 and January of 25 after previously engaging in the intentional infliction of emotional distress. She said that Sharpe became violent over the course of their relationship and recorded their sexual encounters without her consent. Okay, so that's yet another thing that she alleged he did without consent, even though I find it hard to believe that an OF girl did not consent to Shannon Sharpe recording their sexual escapades. But who knows for sure? Sharpe never faced criminal charges in that matter. And then on April 20th of 25, the complaint in Nevada making several allegations against Sharpe. So it was April 20th where they filed that lawsuit. And now, here we are. We have a settlement, and now today we have this old nigga in his mid-50s who was well on his way to getting a big bag, 80 to 100 millions, as far as the deal that they said was on the table for his podcast and what he was working on with ESPN. They were, like I said, they were clearing space in their entire, what would you call it? Their entire talent lineup. They were firing people so that they can make space. The same way they made space for Pat McAfee to have a run, a time schedule for his show. They said they were thinking about doing the exact same thing for Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, I believe it was specifically for Nightcap, if I recall correctly. But they were clearing out space so that he could have an evening primetime slot. He was well on his way. He was almost there. And yet he allowed his lust. He allowed his lust for a mediocre 20-year-old OnlyFans thought to get him out the paint. And he has officially, as of today, given the fact that he has gotten fired by ESPN, Shannon Sharpe, unfortunately, has officially fumbled the bag. This is some pathetic shit, but this is a cautionary tale. Absolutely a cautionary tale for all men out there, man. It's a cautionary tale that you cannot allow your lust for women and your horniness. You cannot allow that to overrule your common sense, especially if you are dealing at that level of business. What business do you have dealing with this mediocre OnlyFans chick if you're Shannon Sharpe, bro? Like, I know right now he realizes the fault and the error in his ways. Like, I'm Shannon Sharpe. I could have smashed all these other women consensually. They would have held it down. They wouldn't have snitched. And yet, out of all women that he could have messed with, he's messing with this mid bitch in her early 20s, who he has now, not only has he allowed her to get him in his pockets heavy, because he most likely had to pay somewhere in the upwards of 15 to 20 million in the settlement, but not only has he allowed her to take that money from him, but this old clown ass fool has now fumbled the biggest bag of his entire life by being fired by ESPN today. Oh man, I just don't know what more you can say about it. I mean, I don't even know how you recover from something like that. How do you recover from being right there on the precipice of making the biggest gain of your entire life as a professional? He already is making more in his second career than he ever made in the NFL. But he was well on his way to getting an extremely large bag from ESPN. And they said he was in a bidding war with another network as well, as far as who could get rights to him bringing maybe Nightcap over to a large audience. Well on its way to getting a possible $80 to $100 million deal. And then all of that got completely sidelined and railroaded when the lawsuit came out. And now that the lawsuit has been settled, he thought that it was going to be clear sailing from that point forward. Lo and behold, that is not the case at all. ESPN said, okay, now that we see that you've settled, you know what? I think we're going to go a different way, Shannon. We see that you settled, which means that you are at least, you're at least culpable and you're at least liable to some extent, because you're settled and you're paying this mid OnlyFans bitch 15 to 20 million in the settlement. So yeah, I think we're just gonna part ways altogether, Shannon. Thanks for your services. That's basically what ESPN told him today. This is some crazy shit, bro. This is some crazy shit. I've never seen a nigga fumble a bag like this. I ain't never seen an old ass clown nigga fumble a bag like this. He's 57 years old. 57 years old, and he allowed a girl in her early 20s to take him to the cleaners. I don't mean to laugh, but it is pretty damn farcical when you think about it. This old nigga who's been around the block time and time again in life, all the women that Shannon Sharpe has had access to, all the women that he has messed with, all the women he's dated, all the women he's smashed and yet out of all women, he allowed this chick to be the one to completely derail his burgeoning empire that he had developing in media. Let this be a cautionary tale, man. Let this be a cautionary tale that lust can never be what controls you. You can never allow your lust for women to override common sense. I just don't know what else to say, man. Shit's crazy. Shannon, oh man, bro. You fumbled that bag, bro. You fumbled that bag crazy. I don't even know what more you can even say about Shannon, bro. I mean, from a possible $100 million deal to now who knows where he's going to end up now as far as another network. Can he go back to FS1? Maybe. I mean, they fired Skip. I'm sure he probably still has a lot of relations with, a lot of the big bosses at FS1. Perhaps Shannon could rebound and find his way over to FS1, especially seeing as they just cleaned house for the most part. So I'm sure that he can probably go back over to FS1 and actually, maybe, who knows, maybe he can get get a nice soft landing over there and rebound rather quickly. That's the best solution, I would say, in this case. And I would assume he would have a lot more leverage over there at FS1 as well, because they need someone with that kind of star power that Shannon Sharpe has. So perhaps this could ultimately end up being a blessing in disguise for Shannon Sharpe. Maybe he can take this firing from ESPN and use this as leverage at FS1. FS1 doesn't have any stars who are anywhere near as big as Shannon Sharpe. So perhaps he can rebound, land on his feet, and just pick up where he left off with FS1. I don't know. That definitely could be a viable rebound for Shannon Sharpe. And he can possibly get his own show in prime time on FS1. Won't be getting paid as much as on ESPN. Obviously, ESPN is the big dog. They pay the most money. But I do see a scenario where he could still come out of this still somewhat smelling like roses, even though nobody wants to get fired. It's embarrassing for this old ass nigga to have gotten taken to the cleaners by this young OnlyFans thought. It's embarrassing. The fact that he not only has allowed her to hurt his pockets, because he's probably paid somewhere around 15 to 20 million in the settlement, and then gets his ass fired today. So now he had to completely forfeit this proposed $80 to $100 million deal that they said was in the works prior to that lawsuit being filed. So he's walking away from all these things that were just on that precipice of happening for him. But now that's life. That's life, right? That's life. You can't cry over spilt milk. All you can do is rebound, roll with the punches, and try your best to figure out how you're going to navigate it. So I'm sure he's in crisis control right now, trying to figure out what's the next move. And if I'm Shannon Sharpe, and if I just got fired by ESPN today, my first course of action would be to reach out to those bosses at FS1 and see if they're interested in having a sit-down meeting, see if we can maybe come to an agreement as far as me returning to FS1, getting my own show where I have complete leverage as far as, the way it's run. Maybe he revives Undisputed. I don't know if Skip owns the IP to Undisputed, but maybe Shannon Sharpe goes back to FS1 and he revives Undisputed at this point, or perhaps he just comes up with a brand new show altogether. But Shannon Sharpe was the draw on Undisputed. Let's keep it a stack. Shannon Sharpe was always the draw. He's the reason that we all tuned into Undisputed. So if he returns to FS1, I feel very confident that Shannon Sharpe could absolutely land on his feet and he could absolutely make the best of this situation. I think that he can absolutely make the best of this situation and still be successful in television media. We all know what's happened. This could be like I said, a blessing in disguise. All his dirty laundry has been exposed. Nobody ever wants their dirty laundry exposed to the world. But you know what? We all know that you're a freaky boy. We know that now. We know that you like doing some wild shit with the super young girls, bro. We get it. We all know that now. And all we can do is move past it and move forward. So I wish him the best. I hope he lands on his feet. And like I said, I would not be surprised whatsoever if we see Shannon Sharpe returning to FS1 in some capacity. And if he does return to FS1, he will immediately become the draw. He will immediately become their largest asset that they have. So I definitely could anticipate a situation where we see Shannon Sharpe and FS1 work together to make a situation that works for the both of them. He comes back, he gets his own show in the most prime time of slots. Maybe it'll be another 2 to 3 hour show, kind of like Undisputed was. And maybe Shannon just takes off where he left off when he left Skip over there. But he picks back up where he left off. And maybe he gets another show on FS1 and just keeps things moving forward. I think that would be the best case scenario for him, because while he won't be getting paid quite as much as he was on ESPN, because nobody has as much money to throw around as ESPN does, while he may not be getting paid as much money, I think he can end up in a situation where he does ultimately have more leverage and control over his show, which is a great thing. Leverage and control is a great thing to have, especially when it comes to media. So who knows, he might be able to even finagle a way to get Chad Ochocinco over there in the capacity of the what's it called, Nightcap podcast that they do every night. Maybe he can bring that to a prime time slot on actual cable television. That would be a good look. That would be a big look. So like I said, there's ways that I see that he can maneuver. Even though he got fired from ESPN today, it's not the end of the world, bro. There's ways that he can maneuver to make this work and for him to still come out smelling like roses, in my opinion. And that's all I got to say about that particular matter there. Now let's move on to the second topic that I have tonight. Because apparently 2 niggas fumbled bags today. Not only did Shannon Sharpe fumble the bag by getting fired by ESPN, but Gilbert Arenas, God, ironically, another guy who is occasionally on nightcap with Shannon Sharpe. Gilbert Arenas was arrested today by the feds. Let me pull this up. We actually going to watch this video. Hold on. We are going to watch this video. Where is it at? Gilbert Arenas arrested by the damn feds today, man. I can't believe this shit. What is going on today? This is a crazy day. All this shit's happening. Let me pull up the video. I haven't even seen this yet. We'll watch it in real time. Gilbert Arenas arrested by the feds. All right, I'm pulling it up. Can y'all see?
Teenagers are building businesses with AI, while the only AI you know is ChatGPT. Let's be real.
Former NBA star Gilbert Arenas has been charged with allegedly running a high-end illegal gambling business out of a Los Angeles mansion where high-stakes poker games are played. Now, Arenas and a half dozen others are scheduled to be arraigned on several charges in Los Angeles. And ABC News' Alex Stone has more for us. Alex?
Kana, yeah, Gilbert Arenas is a big name, former NBA star, played on the Warriors, the Wizards, the Magic, a number of different teams. And these charges coming as a surprise. He's been in the news recently because his son, who is a star USC recruit, was in a Tesla truck crash and was injured in that. So their name has been around. Gilbert Arenas does a number of podcasts and other things now. So he's quite well known even after his NBA time. But what federal prosecutors are alleging is that he has been running this high-level illegal poker operation out of a home in the Encino area of LA, and not just having a couple of buddies come by and play poker, but that this was a very well-planned out, well-organized operation with 5 other co-conspirators involved in this, including a member of an Israeli transnational crime group, according to federal prosecutors. But they say that this was something where they had hired women who would help out in the operation and give what they call companionship to those who were playing in the game, that they had armed.
So he was running an illegal gambling ring and some type of brothel, because he said companionship. The way he said it with italics made it seem like there's some extra funny business going on.
Security guards, that they had chefs that were hired for all of these, and that a lot of money was involved. They had security guards to make sure the wrong people weren't getting into all of this. They had a rake, a fee, the house charges. Wow. So they say this was well organized. All were arrested today. A number of agencies involved. Arenas was arrested today as well, facing charges that, if convicted, everybody involved could get 5 years in federal prison. Kana?
Wow, quite the discovery.
Why, bro? Just why? If you're already rich, man, if you're already a multimillionaire, and I do assume Gilbert Arenas to be still a very wealthy multimillionaire, because not only does he still hopefully have a lot of the funds from his NBA career, which who knows if he's a gambler, who knows, because gamblers generally have a very laissez-faire type of mentality when it comes to gambling. Who knows if he even has millions anymore? But he does have Gil's Arena. He has this successful podcast. Like I said, he collaborates with Shannon Sharpe on Nightcap, and I would assume that he still has millions upon millions. So with that being said, what motivation does he have to also run an illegal gambling ring? Like, it just never ceases to amaze me that these men just have no self-discipline whatsoever. When is enough enough? I guess never, apparently. Apparently, there's never a number that is just enough for you to be happy. You, out of all things you can do as a multimillionaire, running an illegal gambling ring, that just would never cross my mind. It's in the same token as a lot of these NBA players that we know that are gambling on their own games, like Terry Rozier, who is this close to being kicked out the league now that they have tangible proof that he is involved in betting on games. So it's a good chance Terry Rozier, Scary Terry as they like to call him in the NBA, it's a good chance that he may not play in another NBA game. And not only that, he may have some legal actions that are going to be levied against him as well. So I just don't understand. If you're making all these millions, and his contract is major. So Terry Rozier, in a situation where you're making multi-millions of dollars per year, and yet you still want to bet on games? I just don't understand the common sense there. There is no common sense there. That's the same token as far as what we see in the video here with Gilbert Arenas. Let me pull this back up again. Gilbert Arenas running an illegal gambling ring. I'm going to watch this one more time from the top.
Our Gilbert Arenas has been charged with allegedly running a high-end illegal gambling business out of a Los Angeles mansion where high-stakes poker games are played. Now, Arenas and a half dozen others are scheduled to be arraigned on several charges in Los Angeles. And ABC News' Alex Stone has more for us. Alex?
Kana, yeah, Gilbert Arenas is a big name, former NBA star, played on the Warriors, Wizards, the Magic, a number of different teams. And these charges coming as a surprise. He's been in the news recently because his son, who is a star USC recruit, was in a Tesla truck crash and was injured in that. So their name has been around. Gilbert Arenas does a number of podcasts and other things now. So he's quite well known even after his NBA time. But what federal prosecutors are alleging is that he has been running this high-level illegal poker operation out of a home in the Encino area of LA, and not just having a couple of buddies come by and play poker, but that this was a very well-planned out, well-organized operation with 5 other co-conspirators involved in this, including a member of an Israeli transnational crime group, according to federal prosecutors. But they say that this was something where they had hired women who would help out in the operation and give what they call companionship to those who were playing in the game, that they had armed security guards, that they had chefs that were hired for all of these, and that a lot of money was involved. They had security guards to make sure the wrong people weren't getting into all of this. They had a rake, a fee, the house charges. So they say this was well organized. All were arrested today. A number of agencies involved. Arenas was arrested today as well, facing charges that, if convicted, everybody involved could get 5 years in federal prison. Kana?
Wow.
5 years and up to 5 years in federal prison, all because you want to run an illegal gambling ring out of who knows, his mansion or whatever, for money that you most likely did not even need because you're already a multimillionaire. I just tell you, greed and lust. Those are the two things of this video. Initially with Shannon Sharpe, lust is what made him fumble this huge bag. And then we have Gilbert Arenas with greed, because enough is just never enough. You're a multimillionaire. You got a successful podcast that does very well. You're on Nightcap with Shannon Sharpe sometimes, so I'm sure you're getting paid for your services there. You're making good money, and yet still somehow that's just not enough. It's pretty sad, man. These guys have absolutely no self-control. And having self-control and discipline is part of becoming a mature, well-rounded man. So that just goes to show you that age does not necessarily serve as an indicator of how mature or how well-developed or how well-adjusted someone is, because no matter how old you get, you can still be a damn fool, such as we still see in both of these cases with Shannon Sharpe and Gilbert Arenas. Both of them old-ass fools. Shannon Sharpe, the oldest fool, coming in at 57 years old and still allowing a 20-year-old to spin him like a goddamn top, get 15 to 20 million out of his fool ass, and get him fired from ESPN today. So it's like, I don't even know what to say, man. It's just pathetic. It's just pathetic. It's disappointing because, you know, the funny thing about Shannon Sharpe, I was a big fan of Shannon Sharpe, man, because it appeared that he held himself to a certain esteem. But when the layers get peeled back by a lot of these celebrities, even the ones that you think have it together upstairs, it's saddening and it's disappointing when you see that they are some of the biggest fools, some of the people that portray themselves as being wise or actually having some kind of wisdom and common sense. And yet, as we found out from Shannon Sharpe, as more information has continued to come out, and then we see that he settled, and we know that it's a double-digit figure that he settled for. So we get to see behind the scenes, and we peel back more layers, and we start seeing that even these old-ass dudes are ultimately just old-ass clowns, allowing a 21-year-old to get $15 to $20 million out of you, out of your hard-earned money that you actually are working for, because you're actually the one with the Club Shay Shay. You're the one with Nightcap. You're the one who was actually on ESPN before he got fired today. You're the one who was actually working for this money, working hard. And all this bitch is doing is showing her asshole on OnlyFans and making money. And yet you allowed this dumb bird brain bitch to get you out your position. She got you out the fucking point, got you out the paint, hurt your pockets, took $15 to $20 million from you, and got you fired from ESPN. Wow. I tell you, man, wisdom does not necessarily come with age, because Shannon Sharpe's an old fool. He's an old clown ass nigga. I hope he lands on his feet. Don't get me wrong. I do hope he lands on his feet. Hopefully, like I said, I think the situation and the scenario that makes the most sense is for him to talk to the big bosses at FS1 and see if he can make a return over there. Seeing as everything is up in flux over there anyway right now. They cleaned house. They fired damn near everybody. Fired Joy Taylor. Want to say they fired, didn't they fire Shady McCoy, Ocho? They fired all them niggas over there at FS1. So I think they're looking for a star. Shannon Sharpe is still, in fact, a star. He has a magnetic personality. He would bring ratings. So let's not make this seem like Shannon Sharpe is over and done with. No. This is a minor setback, because I do think he can make a major comeback, and I hope he does. But nonetheless, this is still a major L that this old clown ass nigga has to take. Sometimes you just got to take your L's and realize that you were being a dumbass fool. And that's what Shannon Sharpe ultimately has to do in this scenario, because he has allowed a woman. The part that grinds my gears the most is that it was such a mediocre chick that he allowed to do this to him. She wasn't even bad. You allowed a chick in her early 20s who's not even bad by any stretch of the imagination to hurt your pockets in a major way. Like I said, double-digit settlement, double-digit in the millions, so 15, most likely 15 to 20, maybe even more, who knows. You allow her to hit you up for a huge settlement, and now you thought that you were at least going to be able to land on your feet and come back to ESPN and football season, and they told you today they got different plans. Thanks for your services, Shannon, but we got to let you go. Unbelievable. Anyways, man, I wish him the best, but he got to tighten up. Shannon, you got to tighten up, bro. You can't allow this kind of clown ass shit to happen ever again in your life. You're too old for this shit, bro. But I still wish you the best, man. And that's pretty much all I got to say about that tonight, man. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Y'all stay focused, stay dangerous. This is your man, That's the Great. I'll holla. Peace.